I live this every day, right? I deal with every day, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah. No, I feel you. I feel you. It's the same here. Like we come from an area where they don't really teach us much. You know what I mean? So it's like I had to get on it where if I could at least show somebody else how to make it happen. You know what I mean? So I'm just, I done led so many people the wrong way. Hopefully, I could lead some more people the right way. You feel me?
No doubt. No doubt. And I imagine the people that you feel that you've led in the wrong way, I imagine that your intentions were pure, you know? There's a lot of things that are out of your control.
Of course, definitely, definitely.
And then there's those people that take the information that you give them. You might give
And
it
go
to them
left.
step by step, and they leave out critical steps. And when it doesn't work,
They blame you, right?
right, right,
Nah,
right,
definitely.
right, absolutely.
I'd like to welcome everybody to the Good Money Podcast. My name is Guy Rane, better known as Gito the Great, from the Greater Goal Lifestyle Podcast. And, we decided to put together something great for people. I got my guy here, Paul Mary, you know what I mean? Could introduce yourself, let people know about you.
Thanks, Scott. Thanks. Greetings, everybody. My name is Palmieri Desir. A lot of people know me as Pal, P. So I've been in finance now for the better part of 2 decades,
Okay.
working with people, whether it be accredited investors, high net worth families, to help them with their goals. Recently started working with real estate investors to provide, access to fast, reliable funding, right? And so I was just thinking about this last night. It's perfect that we're doing this today because I was thinking last night, in certain areas, institutional investors are stepping in and
Mm-hmm.
they are cornering the market for single family houses, right? Just to give you an idea. And so if somebody ever wanted to get into real estate to invest, the only way you can keep up is either you have all cash, which makes it difficult for you to scale, or you partner with an institutional, capital provider, somebody like myself, who can get you access to fast funding, clear, transparent terms, so that you can close quickly, right? Because if you can't close quickly, your competition is those institutions that are stepping in and picking up
Yeah,
all those single family houses and making it really hard for folks to get a house these days.
definitely, definitely. Yeah, so, we got real different backgrounds. I know you've been doing this for a while. I done got so much advice from you. And me, myself, I just maybe like 2 years now got into the finance, doing mortgages. Also been doing real estate. I've had a few investments in the past, different things. I actually helped a lot of people with their real estate investments. And, I just started gravitating towards the real estate and now towards financing. So I got my MLO license and doing that. So, I've learned so much just talking to you here and there. And I just figured, we could use this platform to, just spread different things that we know, show our ups and downs, what we've been through, you know what I mean? And let's see where it could go. And hopefully we could teach some people and for myself to learn, learn from you, learn from other people and figure things out.
Absolutely, brother. I appreciate that, man. And thank you for that compliment because when I share information with guys like you, guys from our old neighborhood, it's with sincerity. Right? I really want us to do better as a people because just investments overall, man, they've saved me throughout the years, man. I can't tell you how many times, I've had a situation pop up where, I had to finish a rehab and needed access to capital because maybe I went over budget, but I had access to my investments, right? Whether it be crypto or whether it be individual stocks. So it gave me the ability to have access to capital. And so, I don't consider myself a guru or a master. I just consider myself a permanent student, right? Somebody who's always in a state of learning, right? Because
Got to be, got to
yeah,
be.
if you're not willing to learn, you just literally put the ceiling on yourself right then and there. The moment that take that philosophy of I don't
Hmm.
need to learn anything else is the moment that your upside is capped, right? It's going to be hard for you to really grow if you're taking that position of somebody who's not willing to learn anymore, right?
That was definitely for me. I had to jump out the window and figure it out. You know what I mean? Found myself in a position where I had to figure something else out, and real estate ended up being a thing. I've put money towards and been a third party for other real estate deals with like my cousin upstate and other things like that, but I never learned anything. So when it came down for me to do everything myself, my learning curve was crazy. I really didn't know what I was doing and lots of ups and downs. But my wife is the first one. She got her license, and then I figured I'd get my license, and we just, figured it out. And like you said, it's being willing to learn, and that was one thing with me. Like I felt like I'm open to learn. Anybody that could teach, I'm willing to listen, and that played a big part in everything. So I know your background also comes from stocks
Absolutely.
and things like that too.
Yeah, man. Geez, I came into the brokerage business in '07, right? In terms of getting started and got licensed in '08. And I tell people I had nowhere to go but up, right? Because in '08, that was right around the time of the market crash. So everybody
Yeah.
was running for the exit. And I'm like, well, I'm really coming in here with nothing. So I got nothing but upside, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
uh, a lot of people that came in that business with me, they're no longer in the business or for whatever reason. But I've always been fascinated with the ability to buy stocks and partake in a company's upside. And the beauty of that is that it's colorblind, right? They
Yeah.
don't look at me. They don't look at me and say, "Oh, well, you're not tall enough, or you're not from the right cultural demographic background, or
Mm-hmm.
you don't fit the mold, so you can't profit with us." No, as long as you own shares, right, of a publicly traded company, you get to participate in that company's upside or downside. So, the coin flips on both ends of the spectrum. So if the company is losing money, then you have to participate with that downside to the extent that you remain an owner of those shares, right? And so
Uh-huh.
once I really understood that concept, that is when I started to really fall in love with the process of identifying catalysts that would make a company go up or down, right?
Got you.
So when you I tell people like this, if you can position your finances or you can position your money where the trend is going to be, you can make some money, right? If you're there, the earlier you get there, the longer you have to build a position so that when that upside swing does happen, you're getting to make a whole boatload of money, right? And so many people that come from background they're looking for something to happen quickly. But in terms of stocks specifically, you don't get to control when the company makes a move. You only get to control your level of exposure and the amount of
Mm-hmm.
risk that you're willing to take.
Because you started with stocks, right? So what got you thinking you could do stocks or anything like for me and a lot of people I talk to now, it was like, are you crazy? Put my money in the stock market. I'm taking a huge risk. I'm gonna lose money. It was just you couldn't really fathom putting your money in the stock market and make it, even though people are doing it all around the world. But what made you jump into it? Because even now, sometimes I talk to people and I talk to them about investing in real estate and stocks, and they look at me like I have two heads. They look at me like I'm absolutely crazy. It's like, nah, that's too risky. That's too this. Meanwhile, a lot of these guys are out there risking their life every day.
What?
But I was like, what got you pushed in that direction and started looking at stocks?
It's a good question. Um, I just wanted to make more money. I mean, somebody presented me with an opportunity, to come into the business, and at first, when I was introduced to it, or rather, when that person tried to recruit me, I thought they were up to no good with respect to what they were actually doing for a living. I didn't think Yo, real spill. I didn't think that that person was a stockbroker. You know what I'm saying? You know,
Mm-hmm.
coming from old neighborhood, I'm like, you got to be hustling. You doing, you know, something ain't
Right?
right. You know,
Exactly.
so something ain't right. You gotta be hustling because I just saw you a few months ago and you ain't have all this. So I kept an open mind. How about that? I kept an open mind and I saw people who were executing at a high level, and I said, you know what? I'm coachable.
Mm-hmm.
I'm willing to learn, and it looks like these people are willing to teach.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so I came in there again. I came in there as a student. I humbled myself. You know, I said, hey, I'm willing. I'm a sponge. Teach me what it is that you have to teach me,
Exactly.
and that's it. You know, I think coming in there with that spirit of being a student has lended very well to me. It's lended very well in the current business that I function in now, which is real estate lending. You know,
Yeah,
coming in and just willing to learn.
yeah. It's crazy for us. It was, I think I came to a point where I needed a drastic lifestyle switch. We don't need to get all into everything like that, but I needed a drastic lifestyle switch. And it was just a quest for knowledge. So my wife and I, we just started going to different things, learning. We went to different seminars. We was going to all the Rich Dad, Poor Dad seminars. She was going to Tony Robbins. It was just, my mind was opened up to so much stuff. And we went to Rich Dad Poor Dad, and there was like a whole stock group. And me, I'm like, nah, they talking about 15,000 to get in a stock group, and I don't know if I'm gonna make money. So I didn't really jump in, but it piqued my interest. So I started watching videos and learning different things and figuring it out on my. I'm gonna figure it out on myself, guy. I learned to edit videos myself, Photoshop. So give me a YouTube tutorial, I'll figure it out. So that's the same thing that happened with stocks. Once we went to that program, my mind was just blown, and I just fell in love with the stock. Started reading charts, just watching different things, and we just got, I'm gonna say, lucky, because when we got into the stocks, we got in when the marijuana stocks was booming.
Yeah,
So, oh man, we got in at a great time, and that's a good and a bad, because we did so well. We thought we had a cape on, you know what I mean? So we
you
just
sport.
got in, and all the marijuana stocks was popping and making this money. Money was coming, and I'm like, I'm great at this shit. I'm nice.
Yeah,
Rude
yeah,
awakening.
yeah, yeah.
But as you said, learning, just being willing to learn plays a big part. And that's where we got in as well, willing to learn those different seminars, and also putting money in yourself, investing in yourself, going to these seminars, taking on a mentor and different things like that. So that's how we got started in stocks. We had some great ups and some terrible downs at the same time. That marijuana up and down took our legs out, made us a lot. We came out okay, but we learned through the process, which was the big thing. You know what I mean? So that's how we pretty much got started in the stocks. And then I saw you doing your thing in stocks, and you gave us certain advice here and there, which we followed. And like you said, it's always being willing to learn, being willing to listen, and just being able to bring your ego down and realize you don't know everything, and there's always something out there for you to learn. And I think that played a big part in me getting into stocks, and I'm still learning. You know what I mean? I still learn every time you talk to me. I feel like it's a new chapter that I got to open up and read. But I see a lot of people from where we come from afraid to take that step, afraid to put money into stocks, afraid to move in that direction, and it's just, I don't know. That's why I feel like this platform we could use to open up and teach people different things and show them that it's it's basic business. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so you said something important. You know, you said you went through your ups and your downs, right? And I just want to touch on that. And you also said that, people are apprehensive or scared to get into the stock market for risk, right? So let me just touch on your experience based on what I heard. So, you had a nice upside, it looks like, nice profits in the marijuana sector. And so you only you only get to, you have to close the position, right? That's number one, right? So when
Mm-hmm.
people start taking like screenshots of
Exactly.
how much,
That was me.
yo,
That was me.
yo, that's the
Can't
indicator.
even
Yo,
front.
I tell people that that's the indicator that the sentiment's about to change. When you see a bunch of screenshots show up on social media, how much money
Mm-hmm.
people are making, that's when the rug pull is coming, in my opinion, just based on what I've seen, right? And so
Yeah.
I recently hooked up with somebody. I did a Sunday session with them, a good brother of mine, and I realized that he wasn't using any type of risk management tools. No stop losses, no trailing stop losses, which we'll cover in probably on this episode or another episode. But he just wasn't using any type of risk management tools, right? And I said, man, you're working with, we're talking a six-figure portfolio for somebody um, who doesn't have that much experience in the stock market and didn't know what stop losses or trailing stop losses were, right? And didn't really understand the concept of position sizing. So, I'm saying all that to say that I'm going back to what I said. You can control your level of exposure, right? So that's the amount of money that
Mm-hmm.
you actually invest, and you can control how much you're willing to risk, right?
Def-
And
Yep.
so, my biggest piece of advice to you and anybody else who's watching this particular episode and joins us on this journey is that you've got to know your risk before the plane gets in the air, right? So what I'm saying is before you even place the trade, before you enter into the stock, you got to know how much you're willing to risk on that particular position
Yeah. Yeah.
right at the onset, right? I have a term for it. I call it the throw up number. You have to know what the number is that you look at your screen and you just throw your arms up and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that this is happening to me. You got to know what that number is. And that is like your maximum risk that you're willing to take on, and try to stay
Mm-hmm.
as far away from that number as possible. Because again, you cannot control what these companies do.
But
Like
yeah, I learned
I
that the
tell
hard
people,
way.
yo, bro, I've seen Elon Musk get on a podcast platform and
Light
light
the
a blunt.
blunt.
Yeah, light the blunt, and I'm like, I'm like, what? What is happening right now? You know what I'm saying? So I would say to you that risk management is very very important, um, because when you start feeling yourself, watch out. You know what I'm saying? The market can humble you quick, fast, and in a hurry. It's very
Oh yeah.
efficient.
Listen, I learned that the hard way. I learned that the hard way. I went from up 50, 40 grand to down 10 to back up 30 to that. Like I was riding a roller coaster. And that's one thing that I really had to learn was remove all the emotions out of everything. You know what I
Yes.
mean? Like, going through that really shaped me up for everything else that I was to go through in the future and helped me be a better investor and helped me learn a lot of different things. But it was something I had to go through because I come from an era where I was always look, if I put five, I need to make 10. You know what I mean? And that's just the mind frame that I had. And I didn't have the tools or the knowledge or the education to learn different strategies like that. We'll go over a future, like dollar cost averaging and, reading the charts and, catching on retractment and everything like that. So this is foreign language to me. All I did, I was looking online. I seen this stock was hot. I seen throw all my money in it, watch it go crazy, pull my money out, put in. I was just, but I caught it at a time. It was the same thing like with real estate. I got my real estate license around the time, a little bit after COVID. I'm going to think maybe 2022. So
Yeah.
I came into real estate in a year when real estate was booming and had a crazy year my first year. And it was the same feeling again like, oh, I'm nice.
Yeah.
I'm nice. Like, yo, all this week, six figures, my first year real estate. This is crazy.
Shit.
And then learned the hard way, like, bro, you're not in real estate. You just got, you just caught the wave. You know what I mean? I just been lucky to catch the wave and been able to correct myself and learn and adjust as things adjusted. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was the big thing in both areas with stocks and real estate. I caught the wave, but then I also got crushed because the next year it was like our income dropped almost 75%. And I had to figure out other things, you know what I mean? Which was
You
crazy.
you lost money in stocks? Nobody lose money in stocks. What are you talking about? You lost
Oh
money in
man,
real
listen,
estate?
listen.
What do you
I'm a,
mean?
you know, and I know my wife's gonna get upset at this. We had, and because we didn't know better, we had all the great stocks at great prices. But because we didn't know better, saw all that red and all of this, and she was like, "Oh, I don't. We get rid of everything. It's going down." Now, I swear, if we would have held on to a quarter of the stocks that we had at that time at that price, we'll be way in the millions right now.
100%.
And
I believe it.
and it's crazy. I sit there and I look at it now. I still have my paper trading account from back then. I use that as motivation to look at that. Like, yo, this is what we would have been holding right now if we had more education. You know what I mean? And like you always say, I see you every time. It's like, oh, it's a red day. Who got their shopping bags?
That's
Time to
it.
go shopping. You
You
know what
you
I
you
mean?
you know I have to remind folks every day, or every time there is a red session, a severe red session. I tell them it's time to go shopping, right? But you know what?
Exactly.
You just turned the light bulb on for me, and in terms of understanding a concept that'll keep people in the game when things get a little choppy in the market, right?
Uh-huh.
I tell people like this: you should own where you shop, and that's
Yes.
actually an
I
initiative.
remember
That's
you
actually an
telling us that.
initiative, that I've rolled out. The own where you shop. So I've started that own where you shop concept in terms
Roadblocks.
of
That was our conversation when you told me that. I was like, my kids is on Roblox every day. You said, why don't you own it? So you know what? I will. And I
right
do. And it's been great.
now. Touching on Roblox and just carrying on own where you shop. Recently, they've been hit with some litigation from the governor
Yeah.
of Louisiana with respect
That's
to claims of allowing or fostering an environment for predators, right? Child predators to engage with children, right? And
yeah.
we don't condone that. That's not something that we support. But just to speak to the fact that when a company is hit with a storm, many times that storm passes quickly. Now I don't know how this whole thing is going to play out, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm watching price. And so when it happened, the announcement came, shares were trading at 150 a share, something like that, like post earnings report. They had a nice little pop to the upside. And then that news started to break, and then it quickly, pulled back to like 117 or whatever. And here goes, yo, like clockwork. Here goes my kids. They come up to me, Dad, what's going on? You gotta sell Roblox shares. We gotta sell them. I said, what happened? Oh, they got hit with a lawsuit, and they
Mm-hmm.
lost $12 billion. And I'm like, they lost $12 billion. It's like, yeah. I said, do you know how much is up? Do you know how much money they've made or grown in the last 5 months? And they didn't know. And even my kids are shareholders, and they're just not paying
You
attention to
don't
that.
know. Well,
You
well,
know,
at least
so
your kids are watching the price. My daughter, she just wants to know when she's getting that next Robux card. That's all she
no
care
doubt,
about.
no doubt. But now peep this. They said to me, "Oh, you know, lawsuit, stocks going down. You should get out."
Mm-hmm.
I said, you know what? Um, our cost basis is very low. Let's wait a day or two, see what happens. It stabilizes. 3 days later, here goes my son. Yo, you got to get into Roblox, Dad. There's something big that's going to happen this weekend. I said, see that? He said, what? I said, short-term memory loss. That's the problem. The
Mm-hmm.
the the public, for the most part, is very short-term in their memory. So I'm not saying, like I said, I don't know what's going to play out from those accusations with Roblox. But if I know anything about good companies, once they identify once they identify something that is impacting their business negatively, they quickly close that gap.
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
They quickly closed that gap. So if anything, when that happened, I told my son, nah, we've got to buy more. We need to buy more. This is our opportunity to buy more to increase our exposure, right? And so they said, "Oh, what do you mean?" I said, are you going to stop playing the game?" He thought about it for a second. While
Nope.
he was thinking about it, my other two sons are playing the game. So I'm like, you ain't gonna stop because your brothers are gonna want somebody to play with, right? And y'all are on here, and I'm not gonna stop seeing Robux charges on my bank statements, right? That being said, we continue to be shareholders, and anybody watching this, I think that you should be long-term investors. I think that social media is riddled
5 year
with
plus.
yeah, social media is riddled with people who are looking for quick hits or looking for the next get rich quick scheme. The stock market is get rich, but get rich over time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so if it comes too easy, it goes away too easy. So, that being said, long term is the play. Um, and that's it, man. I would say own where you shop, right? The
On where you
easiest way to do
shop.
this, the easiest way to do this, family, is look at your bank statement. If Starbucks shows up, if Target shows up, if Nike shows up, if Apple shows up, right? These are consumer product companies that you're trading your time and money for in exchange for their product or service. And
Exactly.
if
Exactly.
that's a recurring theme, then your investment in them should be recurring. So in other words, if you've been paying for a Netflix membership for the last 5 years and you have not been buying shares of Netflix for the last 5 years,
What you
we need
doing
not to say, listen, man, the best time to get started was 5 years ago. The next best time to get started is now.
right now?
So when I got started, bro, you couldn't buy partial shares. As a matter of fact, um,
I know. I know.
you you couldn't buy partial shares, and these online brokerages, the ones that were in existence, I think it was only really E-Trade and Scott Trade back then, right?
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to Scott Trade, they got bought out by TD Ameritrade, but
Yeah.
those
TD
companies were around.
Ameritrade. But isn't TD Ameritrade Schwab now?
I believe so. So
Yeah.
I use E-Trade, I use Robinhood, I use Webull, I use a couple of different platforms, right? Um, but I remember when those guys was charging 14.95 a trade, and stockbrokers was panicking because
Uh-huh.
they were like, why would you pay a stockbroker a commission when you could just do it on your own on these platforms? And they was charging $15 a trade, $15 commission, whatever have you, right?
Uh-huh.
And we quickly found out why. Because if you think working with a professional was expensive, wait till you do it on your own and you screw it up.
And you fuck up, right?
Right,
Pardon my language.
right. Yeah.
Yeah,
So when
I
you do
went
that,
there.
and then as more of those online brokerage platforms started to enter the market, the prices started to come down in terms of their commissions that they charge. And I never forget the day when they went zero bill of commission, meaning, okay, you could trade and now there's no commission. Now you're in a situation where there's no commission. The online brokers are letting you have at it, and people would just train wreck their account because again, they're looking for quick hits instead of treating it, from a long term position.
I can admit, I was part of those chain wrecks. Definitely part of the train wrecks. I crashed the train, got out the train, got in the car, did a buck 50, crashed the car, got out the car, got in another car. It took numerous times, but I just knew there was something there. And I just knew that for myself, I had to learn how to make it work. It's with anything else. You just have to figure it out. And fortunately, just being blessed to be able to come back after so many losses and to get to the point where it's like, okay, I get it now. You know what I mean? And like you said, to get to that point, it really takes your open mindedness to be able to be taught and be able to learn and be able to listen. And that was something that I'm gonna be honest was difficult for me. I did what I wanted to do, how I wanted to do it, and made what I wanted to make, and hit a brick wall and had to figure it out. And for me, stocks, real estate, entrepreneurship, a lot of stuff that we're going to be talking about on this podcast was really the answer. And I think so many people get stuck in just that what from the rich dad poor dad they call it the hamster wheel. It's going around and around doing the same thing over and over and over and not opening their mind to learning new things. And they just get stuck in that same and wondering why they ain't got money, why they don't have this, why they don't have that, where everything is laid out right there in front of you. It's up to you to open your mind, open your eyes, and seek the information. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we're in an information age, bro. Like there's unlimited access to information, right? I think also because we're in an information age, there's a lot of
Oh, yes.
analysis paralysis, right? And
Uh-huh.
so, you know, I would say that getting started in today's environment is a lot easier because you can literally, they've removed all the guardrails. I mean, like I said, you had to buy a whole share, right? Back when I started, you had to buy a whole share and then you had to
Shit.
have the money for the commission, right? So, you know, Apple pre-split $1,200 or Google pre-split $2,000 a share,
Thousand.
even
You can't
Tesla,
even touch it. Mm-hmm.
right? So then they opened up fractional share investing. That was a big game changer because now that means, you know what? If I got $5, I could throw $5 at it. And you want to know something? Maybe that's all it takes to plant the seed where that person's philosophy of investing is now born. Now they say, you know what? I could do this where I'm going to throw a little bit at this every single month, right? Like my oldest son, he's like, Dad, I've been investing in VU, and for anybody that doesn't know about VU, VU is the Vanguard ETF for the S&P
Yeah.
500.
Yep.
So he's like, Dad,
Mm-hmm.
I've been investing in VU, and he's like, man, I got to get my money up, man, because I got to buy more VU because this is crazy. He's
Real
like, I
quick.
need it.
How old is your son?
He's 21.
Oh,
Yeah, my
okay,
oldest
okay.
son is 21. My oldest son is
See,
21.
you almost had me messed up in the head. I'm like, wait a minute. I gotta sit my daughter out. She don't talk to me like that.
Well,
But
my
your son
12
is
year
much
old,
older.
yeah, my 12-year-old is pretty good in terms of, hey, Dad, we need to invest, right? Got a custodial
Uh-huh.
account and all that stuff. So he's pretty good about, hey, we need to invest. I'm trying to get him in the realm of, hey, you don't need to wait until you're 16 to start making money. I'm trying to
Hmm.
get him in the
Yep.
realm of being an entrepreneur now, but I still want him to be a kid. So there's like a little bit of a
Exactly. You
dance
don't
there,
want to take
right?
that. Every time my daughter sees me looking at charts and just graphing things out or whatever, she's like, "Oh, you're on that app that makes us money, right? Keep on doing it, Dad. I need something
That's
new."
it. That's it. That's it.
But I definitely, that's one thing. I have my oldest daughter who's 24. I have her. She got a Robinhood account. I make her dedicate a certain amount of money from her paycheck to go into that, and I do the trades for her. So my youngest daughter, I'm getting her on now. We have her all accounts. It's that's the big thing is financial literacy, education, and teaching your kids young. Because a lot of these kids they grow up they don't know nothing, they don't understand it, and that's what I've been mostly doing, just teaching my kids that, all right, you might not have the capabilities to understand it, but let me set it up and watch it. Look how this is going. And we went to Italy this summer, and I just had her
Yes,
open up her
sir.
Robinhood and have her saw like she was like, wow, I have that much money in there. And I was like,
Hmm.
yeah, you want to start allocating some more? She's like, as soon as we get home, you know what I mean? She was amped. She was really hyped. And I'm like, listen, I want you to learn this. I'm trying to teach her different things because, for me, I wasn't taught this. I I didn't grow up around people that were doing these things. Nobody was showing me real estate or show. I got into real estate because my younger cousin moved upstate and started doing student housing. And at that time, he was just like, I need to make money to do student housing. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to find a way to get you money so we could do student housing. But I never learned it. And coming here to Pennsylvania and revisiting the real estate and everything, I didn't know anything. You know what I mean? And again, like you said, it's education. It's just listening and learning, and that's the biggest problem I think we have. As a community, is being willing to listen and being willing to learn. And I see everything you're doing, and kudos to you, bro. I see the
Appreciate you.
webinars. I see you teaching and always out there putting information out there, and that's really the reason why I was like, listen, we got to do something. Get together, start talking, and for me, like I said before we started, when we had our conversations, like I've led so many people down the wrong path that if I could create a platform and do something to teach them something new or lead somebody down a different path, then all right, I've done something. And I see you doing that. And for me, that's the one of the main reasons why I wanted to do this podcast, outside of also learning for myself, because I still got a lot to learn. And being around people like you or other people we may interview or bring onto this platform, I'm looking to learn a lot as well as give out information. You know what I mean? So for you, what's your reasoning? What came to your mind state about, as far as creating the podcast, putting it out there, giving the information out to people?
You know, how do I say this? As a professional, I wasn't allowed to speak to people. Regulations didn't allow me to speak publicly to people about publicly traded equities. Meanwhile, the people on these social media platforms was the people that needed to hear it from me the most, and I wasn't able to speak to them under the guise of suitability. And I understand it from a regulatory standpoint. I understand it and understood it because speaking on a public platform, um, you don't know who you're going to reach, right? So you could reach the school bus driver, and that school bus driver hears a stock that we talk about, like a Roblox, for instance, right? In this particular conversation, they hear that, and then not doing the due diligence that they're supposed to do because they may not know how to do it, they decide to push their life savings into it, and then Roblox may fail as a company, right? Because nothing is guaranteed. So I think that I was not being able to speak to the people for so long, and then finally being in a position to be able to speak to the people at large is the reason why I decided to move forward with doing something like this, right? Because again, I think the message was something that people needed. People needed to hear that um, financial literacy is definitely accessible, and it's required, right? Especially in the kind of financial environment that we're living in today. So it's a prerequisite that you invest, because I tell people all the time, you should save your money and invest so your investments can save you later. My motivation is wanting to see people in a better place, period, because it doesn't take anything away from me if somebody's investing in the stock market. I don't lose an opportunity by somebody investing in the stock market or investing in real estate. I don't lose an opportunity. In fact, I gain an opportunity, right?
Uh-huh.
And I've spoken to so many people, and just passing conversation, man. Man, I'll be at a party and tell somebody, hey, man, you should do this, that, and the third. And I've become an evangelist over the years for the philosophy of investments because of what it can do for you when you need it.
When you need it, yep.
It's not about taking the screenshots and posting them on social media so you can flex on people. It's about the recurring investment over time that permits your son to go to college, the college of his choice. You know what I'm saying? It's about getting them, to align with the spirit of investing so that when they do go to buy their first house, like me, when I bought my first house, I was able to pull money from my SEP IRA to buy
Mm.
my first house because I was investing, right? And why did I start investing? Because I was exposed to it. So it's like I can only control what I can control. I can control how many people I expose, the frequency that I expose them at, and the platforms that I expose them at, right? Or on, rather.
Hmm.
So that being said, hey, listen, man, the more people know about investing overall, the more people we can literally save. And I'm not saying I'm trying to be fully responsible for saving anybody, but if I planted a seed, then I did my job, man. I did
Nah,
my job. I
definitely.
planted a seed. I let them know what was possible, So um, I used to share regularly on social media. I would literally get the shoulder tap from regulatory, like, no, you can't do that. You're not supposed to be able to do that. And that was a terrible feeling, man, because I'm like, man, these people need to know. Like, these people got every generation of iPhone, but they don't know that they should just be buying Apple stock, right? I've been an iPhone owner, just to give you an idea, since the 3G. You know what I'm saying? Since that generation of iPhone, right?
Yeah.
What are we at? 18 now, iPhone 18. So it's like, own where you shop, and then when you stop shopping there, maybe you should consider maybe not owning it anymore, or reevaluate position if you stop shopping there. But
So
last I
so basically, based on your employment at the time, you weren't allowed to share information. There was certain regulation and rules that barred you from doing certain things online, right?
That's right. That's right.
Okay. And so, is that one of the reasons you pivoted, or
I pivoted. I got involved in real estate around this current administration that's in office right now. The last time, or the first time that they were in office, they were causing a whole lot of market volatility, man, by way of
huh?
tweets, by way of social media posts and tweets, right? And at that point, that's when I started investing in single family properties here where I'm at on Long Island, right? So by way of doing that, I transitioned from that business and went into real estate. And so spending time in real estate and then going into the private money lending space, because that's where I function now as a private money lender on the institutional
Nice,
side. So I lend capital to real estate investors. I help them start, scale, fund, identify, and grow their business. You know,
nice,
so
nice.
and I like to do that, but I like to do that as a business. But I've spent so many years in the publicly traded arena of stocks that that's something that probably will never leave me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can't. It's something like that you can't turn off. You can't. It's weird, dude. It's like I'll drive down the road and see tickers. Like I'm on the highway and I just see tickers. Like, oh, that's this, that's that,
But you,
and
you should have never turned it off. Multiple streams of income, right?
100%,
Definitely,
100%.
definitely. I feel our mission is simple, and just making the hard stuff understandable for everybody that have their doubts and confusion and everything. And I feel like we can easily bring that to the table. And I feel like with this platform, Good Money Podcast, we could really open a lot of eyes, hopefully open a lot of ears, and push people to to overstep that fear. Because at the end of the day, a lot of it is based around fear. I know for myself in the beginning was based around fear, and I'm like an addict now. Like you said, like I'm always trying to find a new investment, whether it's business or the conversations with my brother now is completely different. It's like, where can we put this to do this? So you know what I mean? Like even the whole which you also brought to the table, introduced us to the life insurance and different things like that. You were talking about IRAs and stuff like that. Like these are things that on the normal people that I speak to, they know nothing about whatsoever. They have no idea. And there's people out here creating fortunes and legacy and generational wealth built around these things that a majority of people know nothing about. You know what I mean? So I definitely feel, you know, given a platform like this to educate and also bring up people that's made the moves and done it and share some of our moves and things that we've done to get us in the position that we are now.
Absolutely, bro. Absolutely. And I would tell you, like, I'm excited to go on the journey with you. Let's see where this takes us. You know what I'm saying? And we will try to keep it simple and share what we see from a financial lens. That's really the easiest way I could say it. I see things, and I see things in the news. I see things in the real world, and I'm like, well, this is going to be impacted, right? Like,
Hmm.
we're about to have a season change. Summer's about to wrap up, right? And, you know, we're going to need to heat our homes. So there goes the energy stocks, right? So the energy
Energy,
stocks are something that people should be looking at because
of
once
course.
that
Yeah.
season goes, once that season goes from warm to cold, these energy
Yeah.
providers got you right where they want you. And where
Exactly.
you at, and where you at in PA, you need a lot of energy to heat because it get
Listen,
real cold over there.
I know, and listen, I have my picks. You know what I mean? They're
That's
low
it.
right now. I see that they're low, and I'm loading
Yeah,
up,
yeah,
and I'm waiting for them to hit that high,
yep,
skim my little off the top. Probably put that aside for another nice vacation next year. You know what I mean?
that's
That's
it.
one thing I've learned, and that was the craziest thing that I learned. And it's so obvious, but not if nobody told you or you see it. So it's like catching the right stock at its low, skimming at the top, putting some aside for when it goes low again, catching it, and just riding the wave back and forth, back and forth. And I know a lot of people that make their living just doing that.
100%.
In the beginning, I got in on day trading. I was addicted to day trading. It was like, oh, all you need is 25K in your account and you could day trade. And I'm watching all these gurus and all of that. And it was that is just such an emotional roller coaster, so many ups and downs. From going through that and learning is hold for the long term. And not only hold for the long term, but know what to do with the stocks that you're holding. Know when to take your profits. And that's the big thing. Because I've seen so many people post their picture and they're like, yeah, I'm up 25 grand. You didn't make 25 grand though. You know what I mean? You up 25 and then next week you down 10. So what happened to that 25 you were up last week? You ain't make nothing because you never took what's the term you say?
Realized. You got to realize the profit. Yeah. It's
Realize
like
your
the same
profit.
thing with real estate. It's like the same thing with real estate, man. Real estate, somebody buys a house, they bought it, they fixed it up, it goes up in value. Yeah, you got paper gains, but you never sold that property, so you didn't realize a tax consequence or a gain in that regard.
Uh-huh.
But savvy real estate investors, are refinancing their properties at peak value, right? So when it hits that high watermark, as far as value is concerned, that's when a savvy real estate investor will pull their cash out
Mm-hmm.
by way of refinance, right? And so if the value comes in lower, they have that liquidity to now go out and purchase other additional investment properties, for them to continue scaling their portfolio. Just to touch on we want to cover this deal on another joint, but
Definitely.
I
Definitely. Because
work
there's
with
a
real estate investors that do that all day long, man.
all day, and just talking equity, but it means nothing if you can't get to it. You know what I mean? So you can have all the equity in the world, but if you ain't using it properly, or sometimes you don't even have the means to get to your equity, which I learned getting into the MLO, loan originating and real estate. Is I've come across people that have so much equity, but they don't even have the income to be able to pull their equity.
Trapped. It's trapped. Yeah, yeah. It's funny that you mentioned that because I'm encountering a lot of that now, right?
Uh huh.
And so I work with people to help them untrap their locked up equity with alternative means. One of those ways we do that is with life insurance, like you mentioned, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because if you have a bunch of equity in your property, and that's great, but the minute something happens to your credit, you can't access that anymore,
Exactly.
right? So there's that, and/or the bank decides to tighten up their guidelines with respect to how much income you need to qualify for the cash that you're trying to get from your property.
From
It's
your
not their
property.
property.
That your
It's your
property. That's
property.
that's what's crazy about it. Your property. Is it really your property?
Yeah, that's another episode entirely. But what I would tell you is that I do have a family agency. My son spearheads that. We work with people um, to help them with different financial services. Because, like I
Hmm.
said, when it comes to the realm of financial services, I tell people it's very similar to the medical field. You've got your podiatrist, you got your cardiologist, you got your ophthalmologists, you got your urologist, right? And so each party is a specialist per se, right? And then you got a practitioner of general medicine. Now, the practitioner of general medicine can probably help you with a lot of the different areas of medicine that I discussed, but some situations require a specialist, right?
Specialist, yes.
So I pride myself on having built, an agency with my family to be able to help people in many different walks of finance, but stocks is a passion of mine, and real estate is where I lay my home right now.
Nice, nice. So real estate over stocks for you right now?
No, no. I don't mean it that way. I mean it like this. Stocks in respect of I understand what's going on. I have a great deal of experience in that business, but from a service standpoint, from serving people, from serving the market, serving the public market, I work predominantly with real estate investors now, right?
Yes,
That
yeah.
is where I spend most of my time. And it's nice because real estate investors engage in multiple transactions, right? So we get a lot of
Exactly.
repeat business.
Uh-huh. Yeah, no, same here. Same here. Real estate has honestly changed our lives, whether it's as a real estate agent, whether it's as a loan officer, or just investment, fix and flips, or when we first moved out here, our bread and butter was getting people from back home coming out here, buying properties, Airbnb them, and us managing them. You know what I mean? So
Mm-mm.
just real estate all around. Like they said, you should always own something. You should gotta own. They're never gonna make more land, right? Until we take these rocket ships somewhere else. So
Yeah,
it's something
I'll,
you
I'll,
gotta
leave,
get
I'll leave that to the good folks over at Elon and crew. But
into.
I will tell you that I'm actually active in the market where you're at now. So I'm doing a couple of deals in PA. I got one supposed to close this week. I got one that closed in Mississippi this morning.
Nice.
I got one that closed in the Bronx 2 weeks ago. I got another one closing. Once this guy closes in PA by where you at, um, he's coming up for follow up in the same area, right? So investors are very active. I'm here to
Very
serve. I'm a direct institutional lender. I lend capital to real estate investors with nationwide capacity. And, that's it. We always keep it good money. You know
good
what I'm
money.
saying? That's it. We always keep it good money. And we're
Not all
here, we're
money
here
is
to
good
educate the
money, but we're
public.
gonna show you how to make money and live life good.
That's it.
Definitely.
That's it. That's a fact.
Yeah, so we're gonna be back with a lot more information, a lot of guests, just just bringing a lot of things to the table, some of our own journeys. Like you said, investors, you're working with a lot of investors. That's been my bread and butter too, is just the investors coming out here, whether it's fix and flips or multi-families and everything. Investors are always going to keep on coming. So I think a lot of people need to learn to step into that shoe and become investors themselves. And hopefully you'll hear something here will push you in that direction.
100%.
All right, we'll wrap it up. Good Money Podcast. Like I said, Guy Rane, Gito the Great, here with Paul Mary,
Palmieri, that's it. Palmieri Desir. Desirable
Desire,
assets on all platforms. Let's go.
Desirable Assets. You already know. Nice shirt.
Yo, I need a t-shirt. I need a hat. You know what I'm saying? Let me make sure I zoom out so the people see. You know what I'm
Good
saying? It's a
money.
good money joint. I need that. I need a sweatsuit. I need a bag. I need all that.
Oh yeah, that's our area. That's my other area. The fashion wear. We're bringing that back heavy coming up next year. We got a lot of things coming. Worthabillion, good money, everything we got going. But I'm gonna make sure we take care of you too.
Let's go.
All right, brother.
All right. Always love. Till next
Always.
time.